Good morning, children. Today we will begin with a new lesson, lesson number 5, Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln, the great leader who fought against the heinous act of slavery, wishes that his son becomes a good human being. So he entrusts his son's teacher with the responsibility to impart life's lesson to his son so as to give him an insight to lead life as a better person. So you must be knowing who was Abraham Lincoln. He was America's second. He served as president from March 4, 1861 till April 15, 1865. He was re-elected in 1864 as the president of America. So we will read in this lesson everything related about Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln, born on February 12th, 1809, and he died on April 15th, 1865, was the 16th President of the United States of America. He served as president from March 4, 1861 until April 15, 1865. He was re-elected in 1864 as the president of America. Abraham Lincoln was born in a log cabin. Log cabin are the cabins, children, are the small, you can say a type of a hut made by log. Logs are wooden logs. They are a small house or shelter usually made of wood. And so he too was born in a log cabin near Hugonville, Kentucky. He had very little formal schooling and was mostly self-educated. So he did not go to school, formal schooling. He never got education in proper school, and most of the time he got educated by himself. Whatever he experienced, he got educated by himself. He eventually became a lawyer and a Republican political. So he eventually became a lawyer, first of all, like our Gandhiji, and finally he became a Republican politician. He earned the nickname Honest Abe. Lincoln married Mary Todd in 1842. He got married. They had 4 sons, but only one survived, children. His name was Robert, and he only survived his childhood. Others died. So he had his only one son. That's why before, just initially we talked about that he entrusted his son's teacher with the responsibility to impart life's lesson to his son so as to give him an insight to lead life as a better person, not to lavishly spend money and go here and there, just enjoy his life, that too a president's son. But he told his son's teacher that you have to show him, you have to teach him to shoulder the responsibilities to impart life's lesson to his son. Then the country was having problems regarding the practice of slavery. At that time, when Abraham Lincoln was a full-fledged grown-up person, a man, at that time America was having problems regarding the practice of slavery at that time. The white men owned large farms in the southern states, and blacks, those Negroes, they were brought from Africa to work on these farms. So the African Negroes, they were brought from Africa and they had to work in all these large farms. They were kept as slaves. The people of northern states were against this practice of slavery and wanted to abolish it. The Constitution of America is based on the equality of man. Therefore, there was no place for slavery in that country. So Lincoln was elected president in November 1860, and finally he wanted to solve the problem of slavery. And during Lincoln's presidency, when he became the president, the southern states seceded from left the Union because they were against the abolition of slavery. So all the southern states of America altogether, they seceded from the Union, and they said, we won't be there in your Union, in your party. And they were against, because they were against the abolition of slavery. They wanted slavery to be prevailing in America. On the other hand, Lincoln and the northern states were against slavery. 6 weeks after becoming president, the Civil War began. This put the unity of the country in danger. In this war, the northern states, which stayed in the Union, fought the southern states called the Confederacy. The southern states were prepared to form another country, but Abraham Lincoln wanted the states to be united. So finally, children, it is famous. This war is famous, and it is known as the American Civil War. It was a war in the United States from 1861 to 1865. It was fought between northern states loyal to the Union and southern states that had seceded from the Union to form the Confederate States of America. The Civil War began primarily as a state result of the long-standing controversy over the enslavement of black people. And this war broke out in April 1861 when the forces attacked Fort Sumter in South Carolina, just over a month after Abraham Lincoln had been inaugurated as the President of United States. So this is a little bit about the Civil War, which was fought against two of the states, that was the northern state of America, all the states, and the southern states. Abraham Lincoln wanted the states to be united. Now the Civil War lasted from 1861 until 1865. Then Abraham Lincoln faced many problems after that, children. He wanted to preserve the unity of the country at any cost. Finally, a civil war broke out between the northern and the southern states. He fought the war bravely and declared a nation cannot exist half free and half as slave. He won the war and kept the country united. On January 1st, 1863, Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, which eventually led to the freeing of all slaves in the USA. During the Civil War, Lincoln gave many speeches, including the Gettysburg Address, and it is there right in front of you, children, on page number 8. We will be reading and the explanation how he addressed. It was a short speech in which he stated how a country must be dedicated to human freedom in order to survive. Lincoln was re-elected president in 1864, defeating Democrat George B. McClellan. He was not against anybody and wanted everybody to live in peace. He made sincere efforts to heal the people's wounds caused by the war. In 1862, Lincoln declared that from then onwards, all slaves would be free. This made him very popular among the people. General Robert E. Lee from the Confederacy surrendered in General Ulysses S. Grant from the Union on April 9, 1865, effectively ending the Civil War. And finally, the Civil War, it ended with the surrender of General Robert E. Lee to General Ulysses S. Grant. President Lincoln was shot on April 14, 1865 by John Wilkes Booth. He was an actor at Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C. Lincoln had been watching a play there. Lincoln died the next morning. He was the first US president ever assassinated. So he was the one assassinated, means he was killed. He was shot dead by a person whose name was Wilkes Booth. He was John Wilkes Booth, who was an actor, and he was acting at the Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C. So this was the story, children, and after that we have the Gettysburg Address. We will read that. Abraham Lincoln's letter to his son's teacher. This letter is very good enough, very meaningful letter. And next lesson in your virtual class, I'll be doing this letter, children. Thank you.